I sort of learned this with my first book, man. It's like, initially I was so uh, enthralled with the idea that someone wanted to buy a book that I'd spent so long writing. And when I would sign them, I'd want to like talk to this person for 15 minutes at least, and what they thought, uh, and thank them a million times, and almost like interrogate them on the book and write them like a super personal paragraph. And I got to the point where I was like, I had to, I mean, someone else told me, but they're like, JD, man, you cannot do that like your whole career. Like, you can't possibly meet every single person that reads this book. Like, you're going to have to, you know, get better at just sort of signing them and thanking them and moving forward. But I think I'm a little bit better at it. Like, I'm writing something a little shorter. But yeah, I mean, these are all, what, like, I'm not going to complain. It's an amazing problem to have, but it's weird because, you want to be so grateful. Like, you really do want to like be, interested in what everyone has to say about your stuff. But at a certain point, yeah, you got to just kind of roll with it and not worry too much about it, and not worry about bad reviews or anything like that.
Listen to the vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes, and I'm very happy to have Mr. jdslajchert back today. His novella has come out, and from what I heard, it's been pretty successful. And I hope you don't mind. I have a co-host today. This is Charlotte, and she's getting used to the family, so she's hanging out with Daddy today.
I love it. Kyle, it's a pleasure to be back, man. And Charlotte, it's a pleasure to meet you. I mean, we didn't get to meet the first time around, but on a serious note, man, out of all the places I've gone the last few months and spoken about me and my book, speaking with you on your show was one of the easiest, just, kind of like also just, sort of compassionate, and I felt like you saw my story like right in the beginning, and I can't say enough good things about you and how great a host you are. So yeah, I've been looking forward to coming back for a long time.
Man, I appreciate it. There might be some folks out there that haven't heard the story of, when we got you writing your first book. Do you mind kind of going over that real quick again?
Yeah, for sure. I give a kind of brief summary of that. I mean, so for maybe those of you listening for the first time, and seeing me, the first time I spoke with Kyle on his show, I mentioned a lot about my first book, MoonFlower. And MoonFlower I wrote while I was still playing in college at the University of California, Santa Barbara as a basketball player. And it was about my biggest fan, who was a little boy named Luke, who passed away from sickle cell disease. And Luke was someone that really changed my life and really inspired me to write. That's the reason I'm a writer today, is his sort of belief in me. And the first time you and I spoke, yeah, we went into detail about that story, which is obviously there's a ton to talk about with that. So we spent pretty much the whole episode on that. So yeah, I guess if people are out there interested in hearing more about maybe MoonFlower, my first book, to go check out our first episode we did together.
I could probably put that link in the description. Yeah. But now how's the foundation going?
Foundation's going great. So yeah, after he passed, his family co-founded the foundation called the LucStrong Foundation, which is a nonprofit that supports children that are diagnosed with sickle cell disease. And that's a foundation that I'm also a part of. I'm the director of relationship development. And one of the things I go out and do is help the organization raise money for children to give awareness to this illness and support kids that are diagnosed with it. And that is keeps me very busy. I was just talking to Luke's mom the other day, and we're excited to continue to help in any ways we can. And so my first book, MoonFlower, I also made a charity edition of that book, where all of the proceeds from that one go to the LucStrong Foundation. And that's been awesome too, seeing so many people, through your show and other people rediscovering that book and checking it out. And yeah, it's been going great.
I noticed the foundation started following me back on Instagram. That was pretty
Oh,
cool.
good. That's good, man. Hey, that's not something I'm involved in, so that means we're really making an impact. So there you go.
Now, you were telling me that you were going to be putting out your novella the last time we talked. I think we were going to try to go into a little more detail about it this time. So you kind of give me a brief summary as much as you can without revealing too much.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So my new book is called Darling, You're Not Alone. The cover is right beside me here. And it's a book I spent the last 3 years working on. And it's to kind of give you a more direct answer about what the book's about. The book is about a 15-year-old kid named Phoenix Ivor. And Phoenix is someone who suffers from sort of like social anxiety and depression. And he's growing up in the small town of Darling, Colorado in the year 1999. And Phoenix, is kind of at the age of 15, kind of really struggling to see the hopefulness in the world that I think all of us can kind of relate to, especially given the last few years that this world, the world we've been in, has been going through. But despite Phoenix's kind of like questions about the world and looking for hope in this kind of dark place, if you will, he has this incredible friendship with his father, Herman. And Herman is this like glass half full, always sees the positive, really like kind of just motivating guy. And he's the security guard at Phoenix's high school, Darling. Freshman year at Darling, which is when the book begins, him and his dad walk to school together every day. And this is sort of like where we get to know both Herman and Phoenix for the first time. And as they sort of spend all this time together, we start to learn that there's a mystery behind Phoenix's dad's past, where at one point he used to be a police officer and now he isn't anymore. And Phoenix doesn't know what happened. And so Phoenix is trying to figure out the mystery of like why his dad went from this, like beloved police officer in his community, and now he's just become a local security guard. When Phoenix walks into the library at one morning at Darling High School, and two students who instead of holding books are holding handguns walk in right behind him. And this is really like the catalyst of the novel is Phoenix has to survive and endure what at the time of the story is the worst school shooting in US history. And he goes through this like catastrophic event when the rest of the book, and that, kind of, sends us into the real story and what it's about, which I'll sort of save, but it's sort of about how do you take someone who already had a lot of struggles and a lot of issues with the world, and then has to go through something as traumatic as that, and then get them to believe, right? Like, how do you continue to move on after seeing something like that, which unfortunately happens with a regularity in the United States now. And Darling, You're Not Alone is the story of kind of finding the light in the darkness that is, this terrible event that he has to survive. So,
And yeah, there's people that I've had on the show that, and they're already going through so much, and then some other tragedy happens, and I can imagine someone out there who's gone through similar. They need to hear that there's hope, because it seems like the world's against you. I don't know why today just seems so much worse.
for sure, man. I think, and we're adults here. I think even for kids, like I sort of sympathize with them in a way that I think there's just more exposure to like the horrors of the world with social media and the internet being what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Where when we were younger, we kind of were a little bit oblivious to like these terrible things that would happen. But now I get the feeling that like, these kind of news networks and programs, and it's both sides. I don't feel like it's a political thing. It's just kind of equally found on the left and right, where we sort of get broadcasted this like negativity constantly, like, oh, this is not good, this is not good, this. And I think people are just sort of like, well, what's the point? Like how do I what, why even bother trying to pick up that trash on the side of the road or be nice to the person in front of me in line while I get my coffee? Because we're all kind of doomed. And I personally I don't believe that. I really do think we have a hopeful future, and I believe that people are inherently good, and I think that people do want to help each other. And the more we talk about that and look for that, the more we'll find it. It's just not as broadcasted as some of the really bad stuff. So you have to kind of wade through the sort of negativity, I think, and that's kind of what this book's about. Is Phoenix sees something so horrible, and to me, and this is a personal belief, is that I don't think there's anything worse in the world than a school shooting. I think that's the reason why I wanted to write about it in this way, is because, like, if someone can go through that and still believe, then I think we all can. And that's sort of Phoenix's journey through this book that I've been working on and that just came out. So.
And it fills my heart with joy when I meet someone who's gone through hell and back again, but yet still can find the good in others and still wants to help other people. And now you have a book that can do that exact same thing. And where is it, like on Amazon?
Yeah, for sure, man. And I appreciate you saying that. I think, yeah, that's the reason I write, is to try and bring some hope. Like I feel like it's not just like, I was having a discussion with someone who works in the publishing industry about books, and he was saying how the way I look at books is so different than how most people do. It's like most people, it's a commercial product. It's like, hey, this is a book I have and I wrote it. And I sort of, I take mine a little more personally, and I kind of put a lot of myself in them, obviously, as my first book was too, not just this one. But yeah, the book is available on Amazon, and now it's also, as of just about a week ago, available in Barnes and Noble. So you can go ahead and find it anywhere near you where books are sold, and you can also get it on my website, jdwritesbooks.com. But yeah, if you just Google "Darling, You're Not Alone," you'll find it pretty close by. So.
Well, I figure we're coming up on the holidays. Christmas is literally around the corner. That'd be a good Christmas gift to bring some joy and hope into people's lives, to know that, that here's a tragedy, but there is something out there that can, bring a little positivity to your life. There's so much trash out there, man. I tell you, I'm to the point. I'm about done looking at the TikToks and some of the YouTube videos that I just can't believe the garbage going on nowadays. I never in my whole life would have ever dreamed. I mean, I knew that adults got into trashy stuff, but now it's like little kids, man. And we need to give them something more positive.
I mean, I think personally, man, like I've always sort of thought about how, and I've told other friends this that have a similar thought, because I think it's justified. I agree. But I think is like, there's the shelf life of some of these let's call it like fads on social media or TikTok or Instagram or Twitter. They're so short-lived. Like it's like a quick dopamine hit and then you come down fast. And I think in life, it's so much better to invest yourself into something that has real longevity. Like, I mean, the example isn't exactly how we started this episode, man. Is like, I wrote MoonFlower, my first book, 5 years ago, and I'm still having people that rediscover and talk about that with me every day. And this book "Darling, You're Not Alone" could be a book I'm spending the rest of my life, and even after I'm gone and you're gone, and people will be reading it. And like what you're doing with your show is another great example of that. Is like, I'm sure you have people that go back and watch episodes that came out years ago or months ago, and it's like, yeah, put yourself into something that's going to last longer than a 60-second clip on your phone. And I think that's what I would tell kids out there that feel like, hey, why isn't my voice being heard? It's like, well, maybe you should just spend years working on something and then release it. And I feel like I've heard that this isn't exactly my metaphor, so I don't want to take full credit for it, but I heard someone say this that I thought was brilliant. Is like we're living in a microwave society where people want to stick it in the microwave, heat it up for 60 seconds, and it's hot and ready right now.
Mhm.
But that's not how success and achievement works. It takes years and years and highs and lows and turns and all sorts of weird, crazy twists. But that's what it takes. And yeah, I think some of the social media stuff is rewarded without a lot of work. So
Yeah, gosh, there's kids literally dying from some of these TikTok challenges. And I heard of one where they take something in their house and they see how long they can choke themselves before they pass out. And little kids are, well, the only reports I've heard of is the younger kids that are actually dying from that. And that's just, there's enough, violence and negativity out there. We don't need that too. We need to invest in some more positive things. And it is pretty cool when I go and I look at my analytics and I see stuff that I put out like a year ago and people are starting to pick up on it. And,
yeah.
unfortunately, with the algorithms and all that stuff, the more negative stuff seems to get pushed ahead of the more positive stuff.
No, and that's like a fact. It's not even like debated. Like I think they've made documentaries on it. I've seen recently just about how, yeah, like the volatile, vicious stuff often gets pushed to the front, and that's what you end up seeing on your feed. And yeah, it's a strain, and I think that creates a lot of it. I mean, that's sort of yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up. I mean, that is sort of, I think, the problem with why there is such a doubt about the hope in the world, when I think there are a lot of good actors out there, but they're just not being heard as much. And that's unfortunate.
I've had some on my show that, man, their stuff they put out on like YouTube is, I mean, it's something we really need to hear, and they just don't get the views because,
Mhm.
like I say, the negative seems to get pushed forward. And people want to change the world. Well, that's a good way to start.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think that 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 it can be, it's a long road too. I think it takes time, it takes years, it takes continued effort, it takes like a constant sort of endless pursuit. I mean, being the beacon of light and trying to change the world is a difficult thing for a reason, because you're going to have so many people that come along the way and tell you you're not good enough, or the doubt's going to be there. And you can't let those voices sort of win out. And yeah, you got to fight it as much as you can. And I've seen plenty of friends of mine that have maybe succumb to this problem of letting the bad voices kind of hear through to them. But I do think that we need to keep pushing on and trying to spread messages of hope and positivity no matter what. But that can even be done. I always think about it, Colin, like the smallest of ways too. It's like, how do you treat the banker you go and see, or the person who's checking you out at the grocery store? And it's like those small things add up. And if we can all get back to a sense of taking even those seriously too, I think that changes the world, in a small way. And yeah, we have to try to be the change we want to see.
Man, I don't remember if we talked about it the last time, but I like to, when I go to the grocery store, instead of those instant checkout lines, I
Yeah,
like to
yeah,
go,
yeah.
yeah, through the where the cashiers are at.
No,
It,
we did not talk about this, but I love that philosophy.
well, I'd like to go through and joke with them and try to bring a smile to their face, because how many times have they been cussed at and,
Yeah.
just treated like garbage, and especially for stuff that they can't control. I mean, people get mad, they swipe their card and the machine's either not working, or it's not working for no funds. Is it?
Yeah, no, 100%, man. I love that. I love that you said that. And it reminds me, so there's this really famous speech by a guy named David Foster Wallace. And David Foster Wallace is a former author and sort of speaker. And I haven't read a lot of his work, so I don't want to sound like I totally know a lot about him, but I do know he gave a tremendous speech called "This Is Water." And he starts off the speech by saying, there's a story about these two fish and these two fish swimming around in the ocean. And these two fish are kind of talking to one another, and they're swimming around, and they pass by this older fish that swims by them. And the older fish says to the two younger fish, "Hey fellas, how's the water today?" And the two fish look at the older fish and kind of don't know what to say. And they keep swimming, and they end up swimming by them. And the two younger fish then say to each other, once the older fish has passed, "What the heck is water?" And he then goes on to this explanation of like, water is everything around us happening all at once, yet we're so oblivious to the fact that we're swimming in this like abundant world, we forget we're even in water.
Mm-hmm.
And we sort of portray, and I'm kind of skipping a lot, so you should check out the speech if you're interested in listening out there, but we kind of broadcast our own insecurities on others without remembering like they're people too. They've got bills, problems, family issues, holiday stress, whatever it is. And this is all water. This is all water around us. And we're just lucky to be swimming, and we got to remember that. But yeah, it's an incredible speech, man. You should check it out if you're interested.
Yeah, definitely. I'm doing better. I used to get really upset in traffic, and
Yeah,
then
he talks about that in the speech, traffic a
yeah,
lot. Yeah.
and I'll catch myself, and my wife she'll subtly remind me, but it's like, hey, we don't know what they're going through, and they might be rushing to the hospital or having to hurry up and get home for an emergency, whatever. We should be a little more understanding. Like, yeah, you're right. Um, you're supposed to be nice. She wanted to take off my headphones, I think.
Yeah, that's funny.
But we do need to be a little more considerate of others, and realize too, somebody else is not always going to be so considerate to us, but we can't hold that back from us being the good ones.
Well said. Yeah, for sure. And it takes work, man. Like
Oh yeah.
it's not something that ever, you could say it as much as you want. And I do the same thing. I forget. I get worked up for nothing. And I always try to check myself and say, hey man, like what are you in such a hurry for? Like you shouldn't be so, pessimistic. And I've noticed too, it's funny, like since I've gotten so crazy busy with the book release and going about and trying to steel myself to get ready for the next interview or whatever it is I'm doing, I've really invested in yoga, and I do it every morning, and it's been like an incredibly just detoxifying thing. And I would notice when I wake up for yoga, I'm in the worst mood ever. I'm like, why am I getting up to do this when I got all this stuff I got to do today? And this is
Mm-hmm.
such a waste of time. It's cold out. It's like 5 a.m. And then I get there and do yoga, and I leave, and I'm like in the best mood ever. So I think it takes, I'm just saying that as an example because it's a daily reminder. You have to always keep that top of mind.
One of the themes of the Bible is to be slow to anger but quick to forgive. And I think we need to keep that in mind as well. Now,
Well said.
forgive me, I couldn't remember. Did you tell me you were going on book tour?
Yeah, I'm sort of in the middle of that currently. I'm continuing to travel and speak at schools and charities and all sorts of places about the book and bookstores and do signings and events. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man. I'm loving it.
Definitely Barnes and Noble, right?
Oh yeah, we're all over the place. And I told I was talking to my dad. I'm like, man, you get really sick of seeing yourself in photos and your own voice in the podcast. And he's like, but you just got to keep going, man. And he's right. It's been a little bit of an adjustment to get used to that, because it is kind of weird, like waking up every day and having to see yourself is a is a pretty funny thing. But yeah, I'm loving it, man. I have no complaints for sure.
Getting that writer's cramp from signing all those books.
Yeah, I mean, um I sort of learned this with my first book, man. It's like, initially I was so uh enthralled with the idea that someone wanted to buy a book that I'd spent so long writing. And when I would sign them, I'd want to like talk to this person for 15 minutes at least, and what they thought, and thank them a million times, and almost like interrogate them on the book and write them like a super personal paragraph. And I got to the point where I was like, I had to, I mean, someone else told me, but they're like, JD, man, you cannot do that like your whole career. Like, you can't possibly meet every single person that reads this book. Like, you're going to have to, get better at just sort of signing them and thanking them and moving forward. But I think I'm a little bit better at it. Like, I'm writing something a little shorter. But yeah, I mean, these are all, like, I'm not going to complain. It's an amazing problem to have, but it's weird because, you want to be so grateful. Like, you really do want to like be, interested in what everyone has to say about your stuff. But at a certain point, yeah, you got to just kind of roll with it and not worry too much about it, and not worry about bad reviews or anything like that. So,
Yeah. Well, you're going to have your critics no matter what you do.
right.
And well, that's a whole nother story, but
That's another episode. I'll come
that's
back
another
to
whole,
that.
a whole nother episode. But I don't get a whole lot, but when I do have somebody that tells me how much they like the show, I'm like you. I just want to grab them and talk to them for hours, going, "What did you like about it? What did you think of this? What did you think of
Right, right.
this?"
Yeah,
It's
for sure, man. No, it's an amazing feeling. It sort of it gives sort of a gratification, all the hard work you put in, and when they see that, yeah, you don't want to just like send them on their way. I mean, you want to really take a second, and but as I have more projects, that gets tougher, obviously, and you try to balance it, but yeah, it's I mean, I've watched like John Green is one of my favorite authors, and he's kind of like my idol, if you will, and I think he's a tremendous writer, and
Mhm.
I've watched him struggle to be the person who wrote the books he did, and that was encouraging to me to see, because it's even a challenge to him, and he's 6 7 books in, and he's in his 40s, and I'm just in my 20s, so I'm hoping to sort of grow into maybe being more comfortable with it. But yeah, it's certainly a weird feeling for sure.
The question I ask everyone who's like going on uh, like a book tour or promoting their music, whatever it is, when you come into Austin.
You know what? That actually may be happening sooner than later, man. So I'm gonna be hanging out with you and Charlotte. Maybe the next time we do a in person episode. But I have some family out there, so I may be going out there. February, March, sometime like that. So stay tuned, man.
Oh, that would be sweet. You gotta let me know.
Oh, absolutely,
But
absolutely,
I'm sure Charlotte would love to get
man.
out. She likes to travel, by the way.
Oh,
So
cool. All right, all right. She come back with me to LA.
you want to go to LA?
Well, we got the same hair color, so we got that in common.
She's a sweetheart. Still getting used to us though.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man, I'm glad that you're the book's doing good and you're getting out there, and definitely I want you to keep writing, man. You're doing so awesome, and the world needs more positivity.
Man, I appreciate it. Like I said in the beginning, man, I've been a lot of places. I've spoken to a lot of, not just people buying the book, but a lot of podcasts and radio shows and TV shows. And out of all the places I've been, man, we connected in such a way that was so, you know, like I said, you saw my story, and I thought who I was right away, and you're so easy to speak with, man, and anything I can do to support your show and come back on, it's something I look forward to. It hardly feels like work at all, man. I love talking with you, and yeah, I'm gonna keep writing. I got more books in the works, and a lot more stories to tell. And I look forward to always sticking with you and coming back on your show along this journey, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So
Yeah, every time a book comes out, you got to come back on.
yeah, for sure, man. I will. Hopefully, I'll crank them out more than every 3 years. That seems like a little bit long time. And the next one is sort of in a place where it probably will be released sooner than Darling You're Not Alone was, but they do take a little bit of time, so you got to be patient with me.
Oh yeah, I'll give you a couple weeks and then I want it done. No, I'm kidding. You have a website?
Yeah. For more information on me and any of my books, you can go to www.jdwritesbooks.com. You can also go to the website for my publisher, which is www.summerhouspublishing.co. And then for more information specifically on this book, you can go to www.darlingyou'renotalone.com, when the books are available on Barnes & Noble, Amazon. And you can also follow me on social media at JD_Slajchert on Instagram and Twitter, and check out what I'm up to. I'm hopefully going to be skiing a little bit soon, so I'm heading out to the mountains to get that going. So I may be on a little bit of a hiatus, but yeah, come follow me and you can watch me shred up mammoth.
Yeah, you definitely need to take you a break, man. And once again, the LucStrong Foundation, give them another shout out.
Absolutely, man. So the nonprofit I'm aligned with and totally in just complete partnership with for my forever career is the LucStrong Foundation, and you can find more information about them at www.lucstrong.org, and they're also on social media at _LucStrong on Twitter and Instagram as well. Yeah, please go and check them out, especially this holiday season. We're trying to give as much money as we can to the kids that need it. So any amount helps, and yeah, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, times are hard, but if you have anything extra, share with someone. Karma, it'll always come back to you, and you never know, someday you might need the help. I've found myself in that situation a few times myself, and just make someone else's Christmas, and help some of these kids out that they may not even be able to go home this Christmas. They may be stuck in a hospital. Anything we can do for others, let's do what we can. But man, JD, thank you so much for coming back on, man.
Hey, like I said, man, it's a pleasure to be invited back. I'll continue to come back, and yeah, I'm looking forward to speaking with you more, and hopefully coming out to Austin to do it in person at some point. But yeah, man, it means a lot.
And also want to thank you folks out there. If you happen by for the first time, thank you for that. Please come back. And a big thank you to my regulars. It's because of y'all that I get to do this. And from Charlotte and myself, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network